of Drake.
Speaking of Drake, let's keep it here. Rick Ross responded the same day.
Oof. Now, I love me some Rick Ross. Okay. I love me some Rick Ross.
I know.
I think Rick Ross is a very charismatic dude. I
Yep.
think that often Rick Ross gets counted out of certain conversations. And I don't like that. But I
Okay.
understand that maybe he hasn't had the same level of success that other people may have. The reason I'm saying all of this is because when it's time for Rick Ross to show up,
He shows up.
he shows up.
Yep.
Also, another reason I'm pointing out his charisma and his personality too is because what a troll. What a troll. What biggest troll. Okay, so the biggest troll is actually 50 Cent, but
Well, I think Rick Ross took notes. I think Rick Ross took notes from their battle, and now that he is addressing Drake, he's using a little bit of that 50 Cent sauce.
because if there is one thing, and I said this to you off pod, if there is one thing that anybody can do to really make Drake mad, to really piss off Drake, to really get under Drake's skin. Like, I think y'all could talk about Drake's music. I think y'all could talk about Drake's women. I think y'all could talk a lot of things about Drake. And Drake will either, get in his feelings for a few hours and talk and say something on the internet, or he'll just, mind his business. But the one thing Drake hates, and we all know this, the one thing he hates is a question of his blackness. Drake always feels like he has to prove that he is a part of the community. He likes to point out that we treat him bad because he's a biracial baddie. I mean, repeatedly, I don't know how many times. Honestly, we need you, we need you on Tune Together to play that so that Emily can count how many times he says white boy
Oh yeah,
because
it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. That
because
that will happen.
when the first white boy flew out of his mouth, it stung. It stung for me because I was like, "Woof, don't say
I
that
didn't
to
I didn't
Drake."
know he was talking about the first time because it's
I
like in
know,
the
I
middle.
knew.
It's just random, and he's like, "White boy, I see you," and I was like, "Who's white boy?" I'm confused. Was there someone in the studio? Is that their nickname? And then at the end of the Ross song, when all the white boys came, I said, "Oh,
And he said, "You been trying to be a nigga." I said, "Oh my gosh, did he just say that?"
he did." Spoke very clearly about Drake's yearning. I'm trying to be careful how I choose my words here, but Drake's yearning to be down with the homies.
Yes. And I know that Drake is somewhere right now. Still, it is Monday. Drake is still seething over just that. Especially because him and Rick Ross had a good relationship at some
And
point.
that's what's crazy to me. This is so crazy because Rick Ross was on Drink Champs recently. He said him and Drake have such a great relationship and they're in the top. He said he calls it a special club called the Top 2 Percentile Club. He said it's called the 2 Percentile Club and only him and Drake are in it. Well, rather, him and Drake are in it, not only, but him and
Oh,
Drake are
okay.
in what he calls the 2 Percentile Club, and that basically they're part of the top 2% of writers and creators. That's what he said. And then we got Drake, which we hear on this record, on stage saying, I got a lot of friends in music and I work with a lot of people, but my favorite person to work with, my absolute favorite is my nigga Rick Ross.
Nah,
And
nah.
now and now the beef ensues. So let me just go back to Drake's lyrics real quick. Drake said, "I might take your latest girl and cuff her like I'm Ricky. Can't believe he jumping in. This nigga turning 50. Every song that made it on the chart, he got from Drizzy. Worry about whatever going on with you, and then he just changed to the next topic, and he addressed LeBron James. So Rick Ross responded with a full record, and that was interesting. At the same time, well, not the same time, but also over the weekend, We Still Don't Trust You came out, and on that record we have ASAP Rocky throwing shots at Drake, The Weeknd throwing shots at Drake. We got Simba responding to what J. Cole did with a verse of his own, not dissing J. Cole, but kind of speaking about how he feels about what he did and how it affects hip hop. And even Jadakiss, who was asked about it, said, I really thought Cole was going to be the one to really smoke niggas. And I don't know why he did that. I don't know what's going on. I would love to sit and ask Cole personally, one-on-one, what happened there.
He also said, which I think a lot of people are latching onto, not necessarily from what he said, but just in general. But he also said that, he must have really been feeling it inside for him to even think to react in that way.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that Jadakiss. I think Jadakiss was able to sympathize with him, or
He was nice.
empathize with him, I should say.
He was nice because Jadakiss is a rap battle killer.
I know, but that's why I'm saying he found a way to empathize with him in a way
I'm
that I am
agreed.
not empathizing with
Right. Me either,
J.
because I came
Cole.
on here and went nuts on
So
Cole.
I find that to be very interesting. I wanted to go back to something you said. I can't remember it now.
Simba, The Weeknd, Future, ASAP Rocky, Rick Ross, Jadakiss.
Now, okay. My question is, how did all these people get in it? First of all right, I understand the Simba thing, which was really cool, and I think for Simba, who's still might be, I don't want to misspeak. I don't know a lot about Simba. I feel like Simba is a newer artist, if I'm not mistaken. Saw Simba at Roots Picnic last year. So I didn't even put my thumb up. I don't. Anyway, I saw that happen
Simba
too.
is a newer act. He's not as seasoned as the rest of the people in this Royal
Right.
Rumble of sorts.
So I think it was really interesting what he did. I think it was really smart what he did.
I
Uh,
agree.
a lot of people are benefiting from this momentum and this fervor that's happening in hip hop right now. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. I know that Simba is probably not going to be, you know, mixed up in this stuff more directly,
I
but
don't think.
I think it's dope that, he took he saw an opportunity and he took it. Because it was a great verse. So I thought that was cool. But there was something about Rick Ross that I think I was going to say. I also was gonna ask, but like, how do Weeknd get in there? How they rope him in? I read something about this, but I can't remember what it was. I feel like there is something. Do you know?
Well, The Weeknd was a Drake artist. The Weeknd was once upon a
Right.
time.
You told me this.
The Weeknd once upon a time was signed to OVO, and there's a lot of rumors that circulated about how that went for him, how he got up out of there, how he's felt since he left. And I think he told us a little bit about that on the record.
What do niggas do? They just pick up the phone and call everybody they think might have had a problem with him?
I don't know. I don't know. But I
In some
also don't
circles that's
know.
called bullying.
Yeah, they're jumping him. They're jumping Drake. That is
They
for sure.
are, right?
They're jumping Drake. But back to my daughter's question, Aubrey, what did you do?
Yeah, or Obs, as his mom calls him.
I'm never calling him that. Um,
Can we talk about that too? Because the moms are involved. All right, if you don't want to, I just
I
feel
didn't.
like
I didn't say no. I'm trying to think about how I address this.
because
Tell
because
the audience what happened.
they're a part of the conversation, and I think it matters because when we start talking about oh, it's just hip hop. When the moms get involved, we got to be careful because the
Right. So
moment
tell the but
families
tell
get
the audience what
involved,
you're talking about.
I'm gonna tell them. I just wanted to address why I'm bringing it up in the first place because it might seem weird to some people, but so it started. I think the first one that I saw was after the Rick Ross verse comes out,
So
song. After the Rick Ross song comes out, Drake posts Drake posts a screenshot of a text message conversation he's having with his mom, where she reaches out to him and says, "Hey, Obs, the internet is saying that you had a nose job." And I don't remember exactly everything she said, but she basically said, "I thought if you were going to get a nose job, we were going to get nose jobs together," or something like that, she says to him. It
she
was
said,
really
"How could you not take me too? I've always wanted a nose job."
right. It was very tongue in cheek. And Drake responds and says, "Oh, he says something. He speaks to that. He says something like, "Yeah, we would have gotten I would have gotten us a 2-for-1 deal or something like that." But he also said, "Oh, that's just Rick Ross, that guy I did a lot of songs with." The way we talk to our moms is hilarious to me. But he's like, he's like, I, I, I did a lot of songs. I did some songs with him. But he's angry. But now he's angry. Oh, he's loopy off the Monjaro and
Because he
it's make
hasn't eaten in a few days.
and he hasn't eaten in a few days, and that's making him angry and racist, something to that effect, right? And then later on, you see this woman. I did not know who this woman was. Bless
Oh,
you.
thanks.
But I forget her name at the moment, so forgive me. But she's on and she's commenting on the lyrics of one of the songs. I don't even remember which song it was. All I know is that I was like, who is this woman? And when I look up who this woman is, I realized it was Rick Ross's mom having her own little commentary and whatnot about the beef.
So I
So
didn't. I didn't know anything about that.
yeah. So that's why I say the moms are involved. And I mean, Drake involved his mom because he never had to post their
Yeah,
conversation. I
I,
think he
I
was trying
agree.
to be funny. But I think he should tread lightly with that only because you put mom in the conversation.
And
So
all
now
is
if one
fair
of
in
them
love and
come
war.
back and says
Right.
something about your mother, I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying, but
But
that's the
no, but
part.
it's like
Yeah, but that's the part that makes me nervous too, because I'm
yeah,
like, and then Rick Ross's mom. It wasn't Rick Ross who posted anything about his mom. She was just doing her own little post. But this could escalate quickly with their families being involved. Is what I'm trying to say.
yeah. And I think that's where it gets a little weird. And clearly Drake is still bitter about Pusha T doing it because he mentioned that. So my I have questions. My first question is,
Hmm.
did you like the Rick Ross record? I loved it.
I thought it was great. I thought that was implied.
Just wanted to, I want to just ask straight up. Do you
Yeah,
think Drake will make a separate response to Rick Ross? I do not.
I don't know. I don't know. It almost feels like I don't agree with this take, but it almost feels like Drake might think that he has to hike down even more to talk to Rick Ross. I feel like Drake might. I think he should address him, but I don't know
I
if he
don't,
will.
I don't think he will. I think it's wiser for him not to.
Yeah.
Here's why. Drake has to be choosy and strategic moving forward.
Mhm.
If you're gonna fight Kendrick, who's the other big fish,
Yeah.
then fight the other big fish. But if you try to go full on battle mode with two separate entities
At
and
this
you're
time.
exchanging rap records with both of them, one, that's a potential team up against you as on a record. Two, you're giving both people ammo
Right.
because as Ross is going to be the person to respond faster, we see. As Ross continues to respond, now Kendrick gets to see what the internet is saying and how they're reacting to it, how Drake is seeing it and reacting to it, and how the industry is reacting to it. And he can take all of those things and use them against Drake.
Mhm.
So I think it's something that Drake has to be careful with. And the last reason I think that Drake has to be careful with Ross is because they were friends. And apparently they are not now. Ross is saying because of Drake stopping a record, stopping his verse from coming out on French Montana's song.
Yeah, he talks about the season.
And that verse has been leaked as well. But Ross is, I guess, taking up for his friend French. And that's where this beef has kind of turned. This friendship has turned into some kind of beef. I
Mhm.
think that you got to be careful when you're battling your friend or someone you were close with
Yep.
because they know stuff that maybe a Kendrick does not, maybe a Pusha T does not, maybe a Future does not.
Right.
So
Well,
Drake
that's
has to
why
be
Ross was
careful.
able. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go
I'm just
ahead.
saying that's why Drake has to be careful.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like that's why Rick Ross did the white boy stuff because Rick Ross knows that that's a pain point for him. I mean, I think we all know it on some level, but it's different when your friends call you on shit like that. I mean, he's not your friend, but
I mean, not anymore.
right, clearly, if he gonna do that, I don't. There's
What do you think this means for French? Should he get involved? Should he stay out of it? I think it's wise for him to stay out of it.
stay out of it. I don't think he has. I don't think he has a place in this conversation.
I know this is gonna seem left field, but hear me out. Do you think that Drake's biracial brother Logic will come into this as a person who also battles with black acceptance? Do you think that he will diss Ross on Drake's behalf?
I hope not.
I could totally see it, but I hope it does not happen.
I can see it because I feel like Logic is someone who really likes to. I don't know how to say it. He's into the shock value of things. He's into.
Lately, yes.
He's into kind of. He goes to places that he doesn't need to go. That I personally feel he doesn't need to go. So it
I
wouldn't
agree.
surprise me if he got involved. I just don't think he should.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way about Ross. If the reason you did this is because of the French Montana thing, dude, you didn't have to do this.
Well, I think just like everybody else, I think Ross saw an opportunity and he took it. I think it's very easy to do this right now while other people are piling on to one person. I think it just kind of it's like an extra fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you beefing with this person and that person, and oh, they making records about you. Well, I got one too. I got one for that ass. I feel like it's that with
And
Ross.
somehow, in the middle of all of this, the internet keeps mentioning Lupe Fiasco and his lyrical ability and when he semi-battled Royce the 5'9" and
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, and Lupe heard him.
But he's listening.
Last night at Coachella, Lupe said, "Hey, I don't know why the fuck people are mentioning me, but you should stop because I am totally down to battle anybody, and anybody I mean on this planet. So anybody, please, I welcome the smoke. Please, let's do it."
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. Again, I think that too many people are getting involved in something that doesn't concern them. But, and I know it's not him. I know it's other people putting him in the conversation. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is this whole thing is going to spiral out of control.
Listen,
There's a lot of cooks in the
2024,
kitchen right now.
2024, everyone is airing out their grievances. Okay?
Clearly.
Chris Brown versus Quavo. Quavo already responded. So if somebody got a bone to pick with Lupe, we might as well get it all out now. We
Right?
might as well listen.
But that's the question.
2024 is just the year of airing out grievances.
But that's the question. Like, who has a bone to pick with Lupe?
I don't know, but maybe
That's
somebody does. So
that's why I'm like, Lupe. Listen, keep the music coming. But who has beef with Lupe
I don't know, but I just feel like, man, what a year we've had already.
already? Barely into Q2, and this has been an
I mean,
interesting year.
a lot of this was just this weekend. Lupe was this weekend. Ross was this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's true.
Drake was this weekend. Chris Brown was this weekend. Quavo was this weekend.
And Kendrick really was only a couple weeks ago.
Oh, and the weekend and ASAP were also this weekend. It's a street fight.
The
Street
week,
fight.
the weekend singing this is just funny to me.
I feel the same way about Chris Brown and Quavo singing disses.
I have
Most of
not heard.
Quavo's disses
I
were
have
ad
not heard that
libs.
yet.
Oh yeah, the Quavo record he responded, but most of it is ad libs. That's what's funny.
I haven't listened to either of those yet. I've been very knee deep in this, and I was like, I don't know if I could. And then at first, people were like, "Oh, they think it's about Quavo, but they're not
Well, he
sure."
responded, so now it is.
Okay,
He
all right.
responded.
No, I know I heard that. I just haven't actually heard any of it. So you know,
Fights.
yeah.
We'll see what happens as things continue. But this is an exciting time.
As the world turns,
Any final thoughts on all this fighting,
free white
lyrical
boy.
sparring? I'm sorry.
I said free white boy.